Okay, so guess who's talking? It's Tamika Austin, your host of Teamster Talk. And today we are here with Kris and Scott from Windigo Logistic Perishables. Did I get that right, guys?
Yes,
Right.
you sure did.
Okay, so can you tell me, our listeners, who you are and where do you work?
So my name is Scott Nilsson. I work at Windigo Perishables. So we handle all anything in a refrigerator. If it's at King Soopers and it's refrigerated, it comes through our warehouse. I'm an order selector there.
Ditto. I'm at the same place, water selector as well. Do a little bit of training as well there.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to ask you guys my icebreaker question. I make sure I'm different for every single episode. What was your first job?
Oh man, that's a long ways back.
My first job, and I actually still work there part-time, was at the Fish Den Denver. It's actually right down the street from the Union Hall here. It's a mom and pa owned little aquarium fish store. I have a passion for aquariums, and they gave me my first job, and I actually stayed there part-time, very minimal part-time, ever since, to help those guys out.
It was Walmart. That was mine. It was at Walmart as a cashier.
That's
I was
pretty
in high school.
Mine was Dairy Queen.
Was it?
Yeah. And Aurora. Yep. Okay, so there are 3 locations of Windigo in Colorado. Am I right?
Yes, that is correct.
What makes each of those 3 locations different? Because I know you guys are perishable, but then there's the one in Fountain, and then there's the one in Aurora. So tell me what makes these 3 locations so different.
Well, we'll start with grocery. So grocery is all the, non-perishable stuff, dog food, all that. And then also they have the Retron system in there, it's an automated system that pulls all the cases and builds the pallets, and then it spits the pallets out to get loaded. You want to do?
Fountain. Fountain is what outside of Springs, kind of towards Pueblo-ish more. And they do a lot of like grocery type items as well. It's not perishable. It's more like I don't know what you'd say, like
I believe it's
general hygiene.
Yeah, hygiene and makeup and all the.
I've never been to that one. We've been to Aurora though.
Yes, we
have,
have.
right?
Yeah, we've both been to Aurora. I've
Seen that machine in action, kind of scary for what we all do here, right?
Perishable. So it's all case pick, and so we work in a refrigerator. It's maintained at 34 degrees. So it's a cold warehouse all day long. And, everything, all your milk, your eggs, your bacon, your cheese, vegetables, lettuce, organic stuff, potatoes, nuts, berries. Anything perishable is in that warehouse.
So basically you're feeding all of us in a sense. And as a matter of fact, not just feeding us, but you guys mentioned hygiene and toiletries and stuff like that. So basically anything we get in the grocery stores that are like Kroger, that's a King Soopers for us up here in Colorado.
Right.
That's what you guys are putting in the stores.
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
I think that's pretty cool. What's an equivalent non-Teamster facility if there's one?
An equivalent non-Teamster one.
That's grocery. I don't know if there is. I know UNFI not, right?
Yeah, I don't think
They do perishable like us.
Yeah, that would be
A lot of the people that come from there, selectors that come from there, say that a lot of the cases are the same. The reusable plastic containers and stuff like that for the vegetables, kind of the same process there. I think that would be like the closest, but it doesn't do the whole scope that we do, right? And I have that Windigo with all the different warehouses.
So there's a drastically different, a Teamster difference between the only person that's even close to being your competitor would be UNFI. So there's a drastic difference between the Teamster difference and the non-Teamster difference, and we're going to get into that later. That's what I wanted to find out. I think that's a very interesting fact because there is probably somebody who does similar to us, but we're the only one with 3 Teamster facilities in the state. Am I right?
Yes, and I also do want to say is Safeway is a direct competitor, but they are Teamster.
Yeah.
So we're same union, they're local 455 just like we are, so those guys do the same thing we do, but just on the same.
They have it all in like one campus. They have the freezer, the grocery, and all that combined. Ours is spread out all over. They do have like the beveraging plant, the bottling plant, the milk. there. It's all at one place. Our milk is non-union. Our freezer is non-union, and it's semi-attached to the building. There's a door there that we push pallets through, but we don't go through that door. The freezer is picked on that side, and it's trucked over to our side, and then we load the remainder of the perishable. So the frozen would be in the nose of the truck, and then we finish off the process.
I think that is like so interesting. I think the part that I want people, our viewers and our other Teamsters to see is the fact that when they're getting food in the grocery store, your brothers and sisters at Windigo put that food in the store for you to put on the table. I think that's cool. So you guys just won an industry-leading contract. How does that feel?
Feels great. It was it was a lot of work to get there though, but yeah, it felt really good when we got it all said and done and ratified, and yeah.
And there was a lot that went into it, a lot to lead up to it, and I mean, you say it's lead. Why do you say that, Tamika? Why do you say it's industry leading?
Because I haven't heard of it before, and I'm not sure if it's because I'm not just trying to brag. I know we're really good at what we do here, and what we do here in Colorado, our business agents are just that good. I try to stay in the loop a lot and weed different, just a wide variety of things. And when I went and I started Googling and I start looking at contracts and that are looking at like Windigo, and I put that in Google, that was what it pulls up. It's an industry leading contract. We all know I'm a UPSer, so but our local one big family, one band, one sound. So I know how hard you guys worked as a group on that contract. And we're going to get into like what, matter of fact, we'll go to that now. Tell me history about your bar, because what's interesting about Windigo is you guys have had multiple people in leadership. Tell me how that works. When I say leadership, I mean like different companies that it's been called before, because it was called Americold, was it called something else?
Yeah, there's a few.
Yeah, Americold was the last one, and they were there for quite a while. It was originally Atlas Logistics, and Atlas Logistics got bought up by Americold. Americold was like a worldwide company. They bought up Atlas Logistics when I started 16 years ago. It was Atlas, and it just come over from Compass Logistics. And Compass was a European, I'm not quite sure which country, but it was a European company because, like I said, they were already transitioned out when I went in there. But people would talk about it, Compass Logistics and what they did and how it was before then. And they felt like, oh, man, the grass wasn't greener like we thought it was going to be, right? And they went into this big corporate thing, and America was, because it was a worldwide company, it was a different animal compared to what we have now, which is just kind of like a local thing. The board's all local. There's not 6 or 7 different layers of people for management to have to get to when we file agreements to get along that process. They gummed up the works for sure with the Americold, and I feel like some things do move a little bit faster, right? You'd say,
but I would agree.
He has one person to call real quick, and bam, the issue may be resolved, or it's not, and we got to move to the next step.
So what were some of the other issues that you guys found before you guys started ratifying your contract? What were the issues that led up? There's always contract negotiation every few years, but give us some examples of the issues you guys were having.
I mean, there were things going on both sides of the table here. Like, I have to be honest about it. Like on our side, our attendance as Teamsters was atrocious. I mean, we were running like 47, 50% absenteeism. And
kind of legendary, some would say.
Yes. I mean,
some business agents told me such. So.
Steve Verma, we had asked him, and he had said that he had never seen anything like this anywhere across the nation, because our building was just, the culture there was so poisoned, I guess is the word I want to use. Yeah, sour. Yeah, that's about the word. Sour. It was so soured, and we just had so much absenteeism and so much overtime, and we weren't getting the work done and servicing the stores right. And on the management side of that, especially from Americold, is they didn't listen to us. Yeah. They didn't care what we had to say, even though we're the ones doing the job. Help me help you so we can, figure this out, because I don't want to be here for 12 hours every day. I mean, the money's great, but I want a little bit of family time. You know, you got to have that
Where
work.
it hit you hard when you started, right?
Yeah.
You got a couple 16s round up
Yeah,
there.
yeah. One of my very first week was the week prior to a holiday, and they forced me 16 hours, 6 days straight for 2 weeks. So it was actually, you know, I got one day off and then did another 6 days of 16 hours. You know, the plus side is, yeah, I made more money than I'd ever seen before in my life.
Though, right?
But yeah, it was just stacking up in my bank account, and I couldn't do anything with it, you know, and I couldn't be home with my wife or go take a trip with her because there was just no time for that. They weren't allowing any of that.
We were stuck in that rut for years. And it was a lot of overtime for a lot of people. For me, I had a little bit more seniority than this man, so I would get pushed out of shifts, but I still was doing the 12 hours a day. He was doing the 16 because it was lower on that, you know, the seniority wise. So, and we knew that wasn't sustainable for everybody moving forward. And we had to change something there to get those people that work-life balanced to where they wanted to stay there, because then it started turning into this revolving door of people were coming in on the daily, on the weekly, excuse me, and they were hiring up to 10, 12 people a week and keeping one out of that. And there was a myriad of problems, and a lot of it led to it. What was this 10-year contract that we have? I'm sure that's probably something you're going to ask us about, right?
Mm-hmm. See, I like to have these conversations because I want to know what led up to it. Because, like, I know as a UPSer, we kind of have gotten used to every 5 years. But it's always interesting when I talk to white paper contracts, because the way that you guys negotiate, I think, is like so cool. You guys get so involved. I love the fact that your whole barn, or I could be wrong, over, I would say 80 to 90% of your people show up for meetings. Like, it is, instead of it just being word of mouth, which is great, but it's even better when they can see for themselves, and then they can see it in action. And that's something I wish that more UPSers did, is got more involved and realize that the union is you and the whole process is you. And it's great if you hear from me. It's better when you hear for yourself. And then you can ask 500 questions, because I truly believe there is no such thing as a stupid question, because it may sound stupid in your head, but somebody else probably is thinking the same thing. And we're all sitting here. It builds this like family camaraderie thing. And that's what it is. It's something about knowing that you got my back and I got your back, and we're sitting here and we're looking at each other. It's an awesome thing to see. And it's even better when people realize that you are so much more effective when there's a big group of numbers. And so that's why I'm fascinated by the whole thing. What other issues did you guys notice prior to your contract? Because you said it's a 10-year contract.
Prior to the 10-year
Yeah, prior to
things we were speaking on are results of that 10-year contract. The things prior to it were not a lot of people were involved. To speak to your point back then, nobody would go to the monthly meetings. There was no path to information at the warehouse. The union board, I think, was very scarce. I don't even remember where it was, to be honest with you, back then, 15 years ago. I don't remember knowing half of who the stewards were. And I just know I would keep my head down and hope, man, I hope there's no overtime again today. But, you know, the things that led into it was, I think that the 10-year contract, what was sold on it was safety and security. You got 10 years of a contract, knowing that, hey, tomorrow I'm going to wake up, a year from now, and 10 years from now, I'm going to wake up and I got something here. It's not going anywhere. And I think that was like the major selling point of it. I don't know if it necessarily just catered to senior people, but there were some senior things in there that created a divide. When that contract came into place, it created a divide with the insurance. The insurance became two-tiered in 2014. It didn't start exactly right away, but at 2014, it started to become a two-tier insurance, and the junior people coming in were paying a significant amount more than a senior person. And that created a divide. That divide ended up being, hey, the juniors versus the seniors. And everybody here knows that warehouse can't function like that.
That's true.
When everybody's divided, I don't want to speak to you because I feel like I'm a senior person. I shouldn't have to speak to you because you're going to be gone in a week, because I have a revolving door here, because the junior person comes in and says, I don't want to be here because A, I'm going to be forced every single day overtime. B, my insurance is 2 to 3 times as much as yours. Why would I? Nobody looked out for me. Why should I look out for them? I'm moving on to the next thing, you know. And that mentality continued to cycle through there during this 10-year contract, and it created a divide, and something had to be done.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Do you feel that because you guys had so many multiple different companies managing you, that contributed to the issues pre-contract?
Sure,
Yeah, I'm sure it did. I mean, Americold did a really good job of keeping us divided.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know all that leading up to, wasn't till, Windigo, came in and they started to actually, listen to us. And then, that kind of led up to the Workforce Wednesday thing, which I know we're going to get to.
Oh, yeah, we're into that.
Well, I think, like, I don't know if I could even count on 2 hands how many HR people there were during that time.
Yeah.
And you go back to, like, hey, this person did a great job. I remember those days. And then the next person came, man, they were there so short of time. I don't remember anything they did for us, right? They moved on. Then the next person and on and on and on it went into where it was a revolving door in management as well. The GMs shuffled 3 times. The assistants, GMs, that was a revolving door for a long time. Marvin, currently the one that we have now, has been the longest tenured that I know of since I've been there.
Yeah,
and that was another issue there. I mean, the supervisors all the way down to the supervisors that are on the floor that deal with you on the daily, that they were shuffling in and out. You didn't know who you were speaking to, what their job title was. Anything like that. So there was no continuity. You didn't know who to go to if you had an issue, and besides a steward.
I know how that feels. There was a hot second in my center
Mm-hmm.
where I would come in. I didn't know who my center manager was going to be, and like they were going through. I literally had that same mentality because we were going through newer drivers, and I just was like, I'm a big sap. I was like, I don't want to get attached to these people. So I kind of just had to close my mind to the fact that I could be representing you today and there's nothing I can say to you that's going to make you stay. So because I know I have attachment issues and I'm going to like you as a person, then I kind of had this kind of, I don't want to say aggressive demeanor, but it was kind of like, this is a job. I don't want to get to know you because I don't know if you're not going to be here. I don't know if you're going to hate this job so much to where you're like, I'm out. And I started treating my managers like that. I stopped treating them as individuals because I expected them to leave.
Yeah, and another thing on that too is because the turnover in management was so high, they didn't understand the contract as well. So then it would cause all kinds of conflict, because this manager would do things on this shift one way, and then the next one would do it differently, and then we're fighting constantly. We were serving paper all the time, especially when Americold was around.
So just constantly.
Yeah, you could never go in there and just sit down and resolve an issue. It was just throw it on paper.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Because it was easier to pawn it off than actually address the issues, which is probably a lot of the issues you guys, we're going to get to what happened in your contract, but I bet you a lot of the issues you guys had were basically general housekeeping. Because it was the fact that there was no consistent things that were done, and because they could have hired Susie over there, and then Susie's like, oh no, I'm out. So then she just leaves. She's like, I don't have to give notice in the state of Colorado. Mm-hmm. She leaves. And then Billy over here gets in and he's like, I don't even know what's going on. So when did Windigo
off that, right?
When did Windigo take over?
It was
October's?
I think, yeah. No, it was October of 2022.
But it was 3 years ago?
No, I think 2022.
Pretty sure? Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure.
Blur right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was October of 2022. I forget the exact day in October.
It was October.
So that leads me to tell me about your 10-year agreement.
Well, we touched a little bit on it, being so long, and then the healthcare. I mean, that was a huge divide for that 10-year agreement. And then another big pitfall of it is a lot happened in 10 years. The economy, in the state has changed drastically. The prices of houses have skyrocketed. So that the wages that we negotiated over that 10-year contract, honestly, weren't cutting it.
I don't speak to that housing part because I remember one of the Workforce Wednesdays, Scott is prone to uh, headaches. And he says, hey, man, I'm not going to make it in today, right? And I'm going to the second shift. And that's where all the junior people are, you know? And this was just last year. And I went in there and I decided to tell him my story about what happened to me and how I got priced out of Denver. Me and my wife went to go buy a house, was it 3 or 4 years ago? And we couldn't find nothing in Denver. And everything was out of our price range. We already put ours up for sale. It sold in 3 days. We were stuck. And I finally, I went online and I looked up some newer houses, and we ended up in Lockbowie, Colorado, which is next to Brighton. 168th and I-76. Now, it's about 30 minutes from my job, and I explained this to guys in that Workforce Wednesday, and it snapped with me right then and there, and I said, wait a minute. I said, hey, how many people in this room own a house? 5 people raised their hand. 5 out of 60. And that's when it snapped with me that, man, we're behind the 8 ball here. Something's got to give. These people are being priced out of the place where they have to work. They can't even live where they want to work. They're all renting, and rent's going up as well. And that was one of the major like eye openers for me. I know you weren't there that day, man, but I told you about it.
Yeah, I remember that. And
Oh yeah.
and another I just lost my train of thought there on that.
On all the other issues that.
No, it wasn't on all the other, on getting priced out of Denver. Oh, that's what it was. So I applied to work there in 2012, and it was because the pay there, the starting pay was so much higher than minimum wage. It was the warehouse to be at.
Yes, you will.
And you had to know somebody to get in there. My brother had a job there, and so he got me just into the application process. And when I went into that room, they had 3 jobs available. There was 20 people in there all fighting, and we had to take a safety test and all kinds of stuff. And I didn't make the cut. I didn't make the cut in 2012. You know, it used to be the warehouse to be in. And then as that 10-year agreement went on, it turned into we were falling behind all the warehouses around us. And it no longer was the warehouse to be in. And it's one of the hardest warehouses to work in because of the cold and because of the amount of product, the volume that comes through.
Americold opened it once just to give pay raises to bump the starting rate. And then Windigo did the same, the starting rate, and they bumped everybody $1 each time they did that. And that was in the building. And we were outpriced quickly. Inflation caught up with us, the whole thing, you know, all 9 yards. But
I'm amazed. Actually, I'm not, because I don't know if I said this on the podcast, but for a nice long length of time when I first started at UPS, UPS was my part-time job. I literally was only there for the benefits. I was there for the benefits. I just said we're all clear, and I've said this before. Alan Frisbee saved my job because I was a horrible employee and I did not like to come to work. It is not a secret. That's why I know the attendance policy so well. So I understand how, like, healthcare can be a big thing. I have a single mom with 2 kids, and up until last year when my son turned 26, my son has benefited from having a mother with a Teamster job. Matter of fact, my youngest, that's all he knows is me with a Teamster job. And so when you tell me it clicked for you, I totally get it. Because, like, you kind of, sometimes you become oblivious to it until it sits in your face and you realize only 5 people own a house.
yes, yeah, we got priced in early enough to get that price in. They were priced out. And that's what it came down to.
So between the pay and the 2-tier healthcare systems, that seems like
it was $400 to $500 a month for some people on the family plan for that insurance.
And
A
then
month.
another issue with it,
I hope they're giving you guys free food from this.
right? Another issue with it, again, if we look at it from both sides, is as that contract aged, it also, you know, the way that Kroger, as more stores got added and the way we needed to move the product through the building changed. Because of that contractual language, our hands got tied on both sides. There were things that would have made our jobs easier, but we couldn't do it because of the way, the language that was written.
And that's why they attacked so much contract language this time.
And then same on the company. There were things that they wanted to do even to make things better for us, you know, and to make things better for them, of course, right? But we couldn't move on any of that till we opened up this contract that made it difficult to just operate on the daily.
What was one of the hardest obstacles to overcome negotiating this contract?
Hardest one. I think was getting this whole Workforce Wednesday thing and getting everybody on board to actually want to be involved. People didn't want to be involved, and like I said, the membership was very sour to the union during the beginning, middle half of this contract. And I know Dean and Ford was still here at the time they came to the building and had a meeting with everybody in the break room, and everybody walked off the floor and came up in there to give them a piece of their mind. And I remember Dean saying, man, I've never seen a membership like this. We got to do something. Something's got to change, right? And to his credit, they did. They got involved as well. They were part of this story as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Everybody in this building.
So how did you guys overcome those obstacles?
Or how we overcame that is just being persistent. Yeah, I just think just being persistent, and we kept sending the same message of, hey guys, we got to come together. And when we gotta, show up for this meeting, and that we're fortunate that we get to have this meeting on company time. And then I would, me and Kris we're both involved in the union. We come to the union meetings, and we would get news from the union, as all
to bring back that was stale.
Yeah, and as a whole, we were hearing about other contracts and what they were getting and all that kind of stuff. And that started to motivate people when we were saying, hey guys, look, they're getting X amount of dollars right out of the gate over this many years of a contract. And these guys, Budweiser, they had a 2-tier health care system, and they fixed it, And so I was like, look, guys, if they can do it, we can too, And
I think some of the other stewards also were really supportive and hyped up what we were doing, sent guys our direction, or answered the questions themselves. And there was a big effort between a lot of people.
So it sounds to me like you guys really turned it into what the union is. You guys started communicating with each other. You guys started building those relationships. So my center used to be historically the worst center in Colorado. And some people would say a few states. We're proud to say that. I feel like my center was its strongest when we communicated, and we turned this into, we're a family. We got to look out for each other. And it's not that it's us against them, but if I got to take care of my brother and sister, and if I got to carry them, then I'm going to carry them, and we're going to work together. That's when I felt that my center was the strongest. I think that in recent years, because we stopped communicating as much as we used to, there used to be a time when supervisors would do observations, and literally while they were doing the observations, by the time they got done, we already had like a hotline. We knew what color car they were in. We've already put it in the text. We've already made phone calls. So by the time they left, whatever driver they did the observation on, everybody in the center knew. Matter of fact, I would say his name. Dennis is out in whatever color car he is. He's with Jason, and they're doing this. Like, we already knew. And then when we got away from that is when I felt like that's when management tries to use that against, like, member on member type thing. Do you guys have the same thing at Windigo type thing?
Not so much. And, they do their observations, like, in the aisles and stuff like that, but it's pretty obvious they're in their high-vis jackets out there. One of the things that is still an issue, I'm talking to management here, in the warehouse, is the supervisors don't get out of the ship shack. There's like a little warm box in the middle of the dock, and they all hang out in there and manage us. And so a lot of the times they're not out on the floor, 95% of the day.
I'm so jealous.
And so if I play both sides of it, it does cause problems with, like accountability and stuff like that. They get mad that, oh, well, these guys don't do that. And then they put it on, Kris and I to address the issue. And I'm like, well, that's your guys' job to go out there and discipline them and, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to see members get in trouble, but if you're not going to do anything about it, they're going to continue that behavior, and the culture in here is never going to change. So
I'm the queen of saying I'm a Teamster. It is not my job to manage.
Yeah. And so, and also one thing we did too to make sure that communication continues is we actually got Workhorse Wednesday into the contract. So it is contractual. So even if this management team changes and we get a non-union friendly management team, because I do want to say that Windigo is actually, we're fortunate that they're very union friendly and they tend to work with us more than work against us.
Change of pace from America.
Yeah, it really was. And so we're fortunate for that. But if we get one that's not, they still can't take it away because contractually I get to continue to do what we're doing.
Okay. So what was y'all's favorite parts about getting to do this? Like the contract negotiation and the whole process?
The contract negotiation, I mean, it was the first contract that I negotiated myself. I mean, I'd been in a part of some that where we opened them and we're hoping to negotiate a new one. It didn't happen. And I enjoyed that whole process of really talking with all the stewards more on a one-to-one level than what we get to, because a lot of them are from different shifts and stuff. Some of them are from mine, but most of them are from different shifts. We have, what, 12, 13?
Yeah, I think it's 12.
And there was a lot of guys in there that, hey, we didn't see eye to eye, but I pulled a couple of them to the side, and they know who they are. And I said, hey, we got to start being right here, man, for the people that are in that warehouse, regardless of what you feel about me and what I feel about you. Those things have to be set aside. And we did that. And I felt like there was a little bit of camaraderie there in there that was never seen before between the stewards. And I liked that part of it. And I wanted to continue to build on that. And then you ended up having these conversations with members as well that were a little deeper than, hey, I hate this supervisor, and hey, I don't like how this is job is functioned and stuff like that. It was more about, hey, how's your family doing? What are they up to, and how is this going to help your family moving forward? And what can we put in that contract that will help you in those areas, you know?
And for me, one of the biggest things too was watching it like grow and more members get involved.
Right.
We would employ other members to speak. You know, the Workforce Wednesday isn't our meeting; it's everybody's meeting. You know, and it gave us time to air out our own issues without management being present, so nobody felt like they were going to get in trouble, you know. So the forks and the selectors and this, you know, loaders and selectors and all that kind of stuff, they all got a chance to say, hey, when you do this, it makes my job harder, you know. So if you do what you're supposed to do, I can do what I'm supposed to do, and then it makes life easy for everybody. And again, without management being present in those meetings, nobody felt like, oh, if I say this,
Right,
you know, I'm gonna get Tamika in trouble, you know, if I call her out on something that she does, you know, and vice versa, you know. And we were able again to build the camaraderie in the building and get rid of all that division and all the lines between selectors and forks and juniors and seniors and all that kind of
Yeah, there was people in those rooms that had never ever talked to each other before, but just gave themselves a look, and they're working like we are right here, this close. And they never even say hi to each other. Just let me do my job. I got to do me. I got to go because we're on a standard there. And it kind of broke that divide. I know I always do that with Kris McPhail. I always tell him, man, he always has that look on his face. You guys may think he's the biggest asshole in the warehouse, but he is not. He's one of the nicest guys. And bam, he's busting out laughing. Everybody's joking. And now they know the guy. Now they found out some things about him, you know, and that's just one example. I hate to pick on you, Kris.
I think that's so cool that you said that, because
Yeah.
like I've been having these conversations. I'm hippy dippy, we all know this, but sometimes the people who you think are like the meanest people
Yeah.
have like the biggest hearts.
Yeah.
But you'll never know if you don't stop for 2 seconds. Because I've had people tell me, you look so mean when you're at UPS. And then I'm like, well, I'm not really paid to be nice at UPS. But if you meet me outside of there, the people that meet me outside of UPS and the people that meet me at UPS are like,
Who's this person?
because they're like, she smiles. It's almost like Wednesday Addams. And I'm like, I do smile. It's just they don't. Like, if I go in there all smiling, they're like, oh my God, she's cracking. I'm like, no, it's not what happened. Maybe I was laughing at something on my phone. I think my family's pretty funny. So this is going to be a 2-part episode. So get ready for part 2. So thank you for taking the time to tune into Teamster Talk. Remember, know your power, use your power, union power. Follow us on all our social medias, which means Facebook, Instagram, and the local's website, TeamstersLocal455.org, and also the YouTube channel, which is also Teamsters Local 455.